Namaste, good morning, and hello everyone. Greetings to you on the occasion of the International Day of Nonviolence and the 151st birth anniversary of the father of the Indian nation, Mahatma Gandhi. I am extremely happy to join this online celebration being organized by Stichting Standbeeld Mahatma Gandhi with the support of the Indian Embassy and the City of The Hague, as well as various other partners. I congratulate the Stichting for its continued efforts to organize these meetings every year. And I'm particularly happy to welcome to this event the Honorable Minister for Justice and Security of the Government of the Netherlands, as well as Mayor Jan van Zanen, the Mayor of The Hague. Friends, this celebration in a way is the grand finale of 2 years of activities which under the leadership of Government of India has been organized across the world in honor of this great Indian who was probably the greatest apostle of peace and non-violence that the world has seen. Here in the Netherlands, our activities have included Gandhi marches or marches for disseminating the message of non-violence through the streets of the city of The Hague, which prides itself as the city of peace and justice. We have had an outreach program to schools whereby volunteers have gone to students and talked about the importance of non-violence. This has very conveniently converged with anti-bullying efforts taken by school authorities across the Netherlands. We have had exhibitions on Mahatma Gandhi. We have had meetings like this with speeches on Mahatma Gandhi and his message. We have had release of stamps. We have had music programs. We have had dance programs. So a huge variety of means has been utilized over the last 2 years to spread the message of Mahatma Gandhi. Friends, Mahatma Gandhi was a multifaceted genius. He is known more than anything else for his commitment to truth, non-violence, and the principle of satyagraha or truth force, which he invented, which was essentially passive resistance and civil disobedience to acts of injustice and oppression. He inspired Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in the United States of America and later Nelson Mandela in their respective struggles in their countries. Einstein once said, "For generations to come, people will scarcely believe that a man like this walked upon the earth." And he spoke of this regarding Mahatma Gandhi because what Mahatma Gandhi achieved through non-violence was unparalleled before and perhaps even unparalleled after. He led India to independence from the mighty British kingdom where the sun never set, using the instrument of non-violence. He forged the people of India into one united nation, overcoming differences of language, of religion, of culture, of caste and class, and brought them together in one big struggle to attain India's independence. And India's independence in turn started the process of decolonization across the world. Mahatma Gandhi also was very particular that the ends should never justify the means. The means are as important as the ends, and in all his actions and through his life, he stands as a moral example for political leaders, for activists, and even common people across the world. Today, as we live through this great pandemic of COVID-19, I wonder what Mahatma Gandhi would have thought, what he had done, what he would have done, and what does the message of his life bring us. Ladies and gentlemen, it might be of interest to you to know Mahatma Gandhi and his family were affected by the Spanish flu in 1918 when it reached India. The inmates of the ashram where he lived in Gujarat, the Sabarmati ashram, were also badly affected by the Spanish flu. It is believed that something like 8 million to 12 million Indians died in that pandemic of 1918 when it hit India. Mahatma Gandhi recovered from that pandemic after a protracted illness. It was only 4 years since he had come back from South Africa. But the disease made even stronger his resolve and his commitment to health as well as education. What the pandemic has taught all of us in today's world is how mistaken we have been in neglecting the importance of health. We do not have vaccines, we do not have medicines, we do not have medical equipment in many of our countries, while millions and millions of dollars and wealth of all kinds has been wasted on building arms, on building armies, on creating monuments to boost the ego of leaders, while the most important, the most basic requirement of health has been neglected by governments all over the world. So if Mahatma Gandhi was alive, this is what he would have spoken most loudly about, and this was something he held very close to his heart all along. In fact, it is another little known fact is that he wanted to be a doctor, and he ended up finally being a lawyer. And Mahatma Gandhi in his life, during the Boer War in South Africa, during World War I, he organized ambulance corps to attend to those injured in the war, to those who were suffering of various illnesses. And subsequently, he was a champion for people suffering from leprosy and people suffering from tuberculosis. In his times, these people used to be shunned, saying that they could spread the disease, but Mahatma Gandhi was never afraid. He was always a caregiver. He would go into their midst, he would lead people into the midst and say these people should be looked after by rest of society. So, number one, Mahatma Gandhi would have educated strongly the importance of health and education and asked governments and societies to invest even more in this most critical requirement of the world. And number two, he would have emphasized the need for caregiving without discrimination. He would have emphasized the importance of all of us attending to those who are affected by COVID today without discriminating against them and without fear that their disease will come to us. This is a problem confronted by the whole world, and he would have said we should all stand together to address this problem and to challenge this problem. Going on from there, I would say that we have all seen how suddenly the skies have become have less pollution, the roads have less traffic, animals are coming out onto the streets because the streets are deserted, people are sitting at home hiding from the virus. Mahatma Gandhi, who always talked about the importance of meeting people's needs and not their greeds, would have said this is a wake-up call. Sustainable development is the key. We must protect our world. We must not overexploit its resources. We must protect the flora and fauna, and we must live in harmony with nature. So this crisis would have strengthened his call for sustainable development even more. Finally, Mahatma Gandhi used to say that he has a talisman. His talisman, which he advocated to all people, was whenever you take a decision, ask yourself the question, how will this decision affect the poorest of the poor, the poorest, the most underprivileged person or the weakest person around me? And this talisman, he would have said, is the need of the hour. We in India have seen the plight of migrant workers. There are poor people across the world who are suffering far, far more than rich people in their countries or people who live in rich developed countries who have the resources. And Mahatma Gandhi would have said the world as a whole, every individual should uphold the talisman and try and do everything possible for the poor of the world, for the needy of the world, for the underprivileged of the world. Mahatma Gandhi, lastly, would have said leaders should practice what they preach. We have seen across the world leaders asking others to do certain things but not practicing it themselves. And Mahatma Gandhi always believed that you have to be the change that you seek, that you desire. Mahatma Gandhi would have argued that leaders should set an example to the rest of society. They should practice what they preach. They should obey the rules and regulations which governments have announced in the interest of health as a whole. And they should act bravely and boldly in the interest of community as a whole, adhering to the rules and regulations themselves. Friends, with these few words, I would like to conclude this address to the International Day of Nonviolence celebrations here in The Hague. I wish each and every one of you the very best. Today is a moment of history, today is a moment of remembrance when we recall this great man, his life and message, but we should not confine ourselves to just remembering him. This should be a call to action. Just as COVID-19 is a call to action, let this International Day of Nonviolence be a call to action for all of us to live up to Gandhi's dreams, to live up to his ideals, and to practice all that he taught us in our daily lives, and to fight the menace of COVID-19 with the messages, with the teachings, with the lessons that Gandhi taught us, steadfastly holding on to the principles of nonviolence and peace, for which Mahatma Gandhi dedicated his life, and he even sacrificed his life. Thank you very much. Namaste to all of you. Stay in good health. I wish you the very best for the coming days.